Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yang berbahagia, Profesor Datuk Dr. Hassan Said, Vice Chancellor and President of Taylor's University, Dr. Pradip Nair, Deputy Vice Chancellor of Taylor's University, Associate Professor Dr. Tang Siew Fan, Director of Intellect, Mr. Lim Chi Leong, Associate Director of the E-Learning Academy, Deans, MOOC champions, faculty and staff. A big welcome to our distinguished guests, Associate Professor Richard Buckland, a visiting professor from the University of New South Wales and co-founder of Open Learning, Adam Remo, CEO of Open Learning, Brooke Han, lead instructional designer from Open Learning. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming today. I hope you realize that you're part of a phenomenon here, which is the letter MOOC, MOOC. I'd like to just explain what we are doing here. We are doing a MOOC campaign throughout the month of March. First off, we have a course into the future with MOOCs, which open all throughout March and perhaps in the middle of April. We'll see how that goes, okay? And also we have the Mad About MOOC Sharing Festival in March, which start today on the 24th, 25th, and 26th March. And finally, we have the MOOC Me workshop, which will run somewhere in April. Okay, so without further ado, since we have a very tight schedule today, I'd like to invite Yang Berbahagia, Professor Datuk Dr. Hassan Said, to come and say a few words to officiate the Mad About MOOC Festival.
Thank you, Anna. It's very good afternoon to all. Dr. Pradip Nair, our Deputy Vice Chancellor. We have Lim Chi Leong, Bala, our Registrar, Dr. Siew Fan here, and also our guest, Adam. Now Adam's our regular visitor, and also Prof. Richard, and also a colleague from Open Learning, and also Dean's staff of Taylor's University. Thank you very much for coming, and also thank you very much for inviting me. This is a great initiative, and we started our study task number 2, which is transformational teaching and learning for Taylor's University. We have something in mind that we need to create kind of different value, different type of teaching and learning in this university. We like to see that students come into this university possibly with a big type of category. After they have been studying with us for a couple of years, they will be transformed into the A category students. So this requires our teaching and learning techniques to be modern, to be meeting the expectation of the students, and also we should deliver through more like a kind of student-centered learning environment. So with our strategy trust, Dr. Pradip took up the task of developing Taylor's e-learning strategy. We started with infrastructure, we started with the feasibility, we started with all kind of training, and so end up having our e-learning academy, having Wi-Fi on the whole campus, having kind of initiative to train our lecturers to become supporter, and also really developing these e-learning materials to the students. Because when I was in the ministry, when the government started to implement the policy of teaching English for mathematics and science in 2002, it was, the first thing came to my mind at that time is that I really didn't worry about the students. My worry is about the lecturers, about the teachers. To transform the students is quite easy, but to transform the lecturers, the teachers, not that easy. So with that in mind, we train, having continuous training for our lecturers so that they also in line with the aspiration of our e-learning. So I think that in terms of e-learning, we have done it, and I think we got many awards, many recognition, and our Chileong has been recognized for that and to be awarded as a Anugerah Akademi Negara in the teaching and learning category. So it's a really achievement because this is the first time in history of Malaysian higher education that someone from private sector can be recognized with this kind of recognition. So, Chileong, good. So now is that I've been talking to Dr. Pradi that we need to clone another one so that next time we get another Anugerah Akademi Negara. So how to clone another one. But anyway, from the e-learning strategy and so on, so we started having MOOCs. It was started by Professor Mustaq, I'm not sure here. He came to my room and said that we're going to start MOOCs. Since I'm from Kelantan, MOOC means mother. So I said, what's MOOC? So that's engaged the discussion. We presented at the deans and tried to get everybody agree or disagree. And at the end of the day that we come up with a few MOOCs, and I think quite successful. And we invited the minister to launch it, I think last year, to officiate, and Adam was here, I think, the minister. I think, Prof. Richard, were you here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the ministers, were here to launch a few MOOCs produced by our lecturers. And I mean, this kind of initiative created a new dimension to the Malaysian higher education. And because our development, the minister asked all the public universities to develop MOOCs. And they always refer to us. When it comes to e-learning, when it comes to MOOCs, minister always say that go to Taylors, learn from them. So Chileong and Siofan received a lot of visitors. There are 2 more in pipeline. I think UPSI and Mizan Terengganu, they are coming to visit our university. I think this year we did pro bono. Next year we have to charge them, This is a private university, we must know how to make money as well. But anyway, that's part of our national contribution and part of thing that ministry always look at Taylors as a leader in this area, e-learning and MOOCs. So basically this training is very important to meet my priority this year. My priority this year is that we need to have about 30 MOOCs in the university. Why 30 MOOCs? I think how many, how do I calculate that? I also forgot. As a mathematician, I also forgot how to calculate that. 5% of all academic staff. So if you have 100 academic staff in your school, hopefully that you can have 5 MOOCs. That's minimum. If you can produce more, I think that's better. There's few reasons why we need to push for MOOCs. One is basically this, the learning style, the learning expectation by the students. And also, for me, is that to make our university more visible to the international community. By having MOOCs, a lot of people will register to our university and they know that they are taking some of the courses by our university, and there's going to be a lot of visibility of our university to the international community. And that can be translated into our branding, can be translated into ranking, and also can be translated as a marketing. So the most important thing to make sure that our university is visible. So this is one of the ways to make our university visible through MOOCs. But we need to make sure that the MOOCs that we produce must be of high quality. We cannot compromise just producing MOOCs, but only 3-4 students registered to your MOOCs. We must have a target, and hopefully that possibly one MOOC should be getting at least a couple of hundreds or a couple of thousand students registering to your MOOCs. So that's make our impacts will be more kind of impactful, and to see more students coming to our MOOCs. So we hope that the training will be able to enhance our capability. We create greater awareness and possibility that possibly there'll be MOOCs to be developed by lecturers from different schools. If you look at the learning requirements by students now, that although they come from the business school, they also like to know other disciplines as well. So undergraduates a bit generic now, you know. You come for computer science, I'm sure they would like to know about law, for example, because they want to branch out to cyber law or something like that, you know. And those in the pharmacy might want to study about entrepreneurship, because the government might impose a policy. Now the doctors cannot prescribe medicine anymore. So there's a pharmacist thinking, wow, there's opportunity of money there. Set up their own pharmacies or whatever, but they need some kind of skill, entrepreneur skill, to develop that. So with all this kind of opportunity, with the skills that we have, with the support from the management, and with the few initiative leaders and our collaboration with Open Learning and also Professor Richard from Sydney. So there's a lot of things that we can develop. So who knows that we can develop a joint MOOC with Professor Richard, you know, and get it out. So you can see University of New South Wales and TELUS up there, you know, and it will give us a lot of positive words of mouth about our capability. So with that, thank you very much for coming, and also thank you for joining this training. And as I said, that we hope to produce quality MOOCs. We want to produce MOOCs that are going to be we'll be able to attract a lot of students throughout the world, and we also to make sure that our university is becoming more visible at the international community. So with that, so thank you very much.
And now the MOOC launch video will be played, the Mad About MOOCs launch video.
Let's mad about MOOCs.
Let's mad about MOOCs.
Let's mad about MOOCs.
Let's mad about MOOC.
Let's mad about MOOCs.
Let's mad about MOOC.
Let's mad about MOOCs.
Let's mad about MOOC.
Let's mad about MOOCs.
Okay, up next will be another video, which is the video of the MOOC champion.
Conducting a MOOC is quite different from a face-to-face classroom setting.
You see, comparing with the conventional, traditional lecture, a lecture can be boring or can be very conventional type. But for MOOC, it must be very different, because the moment you lose the touch and the level of interaction and engagement with the students will not join.
It's a paradigm shift. It's not that you are going to teach a few students like in your class who you get to know. you're now going to teach an audience that could be anywhere from Japan to Peru.
Learning can take place anywhere. I do a lot of writing, interviews, research, conference presentations, and I'm off campus most of the time. So the MOOC have enabled me to still teach and deliver the classes while still maintaining all the other roles and responsibilities as a true academician.
Some of them are working adults or students or teachers. It is very exciting.
You may even get some people who are expert in your area coming to listen to your MOOC.
My students are able to interact and learn from the questions raised by professionals from around the world.
We send notifications when there are new contents uploaded to the MOOC.
Also, it is better to have some engagement through discussion forums, quizzes, creating blogs, and also ask the students to create some videos based on reflection.
And one of the activities that we did in the MOOC is the business Q&A, whereby the students and the participants are allowed to ask any questions related to business, and together we all try to answer the question.
For me, the design of the MOOC, it is very crucial because the level of engagement should touch each and every of the students so that they retain and they can complete the entire MOOC itself.
You may find something new when you have the opportunity to discuss or exchange thoughts with people from all around the world.
Now the feedback that you get from not only your students but also from students all over the world who will tell you things like, I didn't understand this, or the way you've explained that part was really amazing, and that actually gets you to fine-tune your teaching to the wavelength of your students.
I think MOOC is very useful for lecturers because as lecturers, we are always very curious, we are always passionate about what we want to do, and there's so much things that we want to do.
And I was also able to take some of this content, some of the questions, some of the scenarios, some of the situations, and implement it in my daily classes with Taylor's business students.
The digital world is the future. The MOOC platform allows us to create a high-quality academic content, opening our teaching, learning, and the research to the global market.
But it's definitely the way of the future. Whether it's exactly MOOC or some other form of online course, but the future is this.
Let's give the MOOC champion a round of applause. You know, it's actually not easy to run a MOOC. I know some of you coming in here, you already have an idea that yes, you want to run a MOOC. Some of you are still half-hearted, you know, you're not sure whether you want to run a MOOC or not, or you want to run out. But I hope that when you watch that video that you'll be inspired. So every day, today we have 2 sharing sessions, 3 actually, Dr. Richard Buckland, Mr. Muhammad Mutakin, and Mr. Kandapan. And the following days, we have all the other MOOC champions to share their MOOC journey as well. So we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, a tea break, and this will also allow the MOOC champions to take a picture with Professor Datuk Dr. Hassan.
Just annoying the people on the camera. So I'll make the screen a bit bigger too. So some of you I've seen before, but some of you I've never met. So if you don't know me, my name is Richard Buckland. I'm from the University of New South Wales in Computing and Engineering. I'm the first year director. I'm also the director of pedagogy at Open Learning. Here's my Taylor's University email address, so you can all mail me because I'm doing a wonderful sabbatical here at the moment with Mushtaq. So please, and I'm enjoying seeing all your email at the moment. Such a lovely place here. It really is a pleasure for me. I'm still here for nearly another month, so please feel free to email me. And why am I talking today? I think it's probably because of my experience with MOOCs. We ran the first MOOC in Australia and in Asia for that matter. In fact, outside the US, back in 2013, just after Sebastian Thrun's big AI MOOC. We were ready to run our MOOC, well, maybe 6 months before that, and we just never got clearance to run it. So, gee, if only someone back at my institution had as much vision as your institution did, we'd have been the first in the world rather than second, which is, as you know, nowhere near as good. I've run lots of MOOCs since then. I've run directly about 10. That was just a rough calculation as I was doing the slide. Maybe if I counted, it'd be 9 or 11 or something like that. And there's certainly at least 30,000 students involved in those. And I've helped with and observed many other MOOCs as part of my role at Open Learning and also my role at my university. I'm always helping people with their MOOCs, sitting on MOOCs, helping people design MOOCs. So I live in a world of MOOCs. And what's the best way to learn? A friend of mine who's a farmer, he was a merchant banker and became very, very wealthy and decided he wanted to be a farmer. And he gave up his life in Tokyo and came back to Australia and started a farm. And he said, I have realized the best way to learn. And I said, what? He said, you must learn from mistakes. As a farmer, this is really important. And he said, I've learned something else. The best mistakes to learn from are other people's mistakes. So he always asks all the farmers nearby, and he reads and he looks on the internet, and he seriously looks at all the way things have gone wrong and tries to construct his own practice as a farmer so it doesn't go wrong. And that's sort of what I want to do today. Share with you lots of my mistakes and lots of mistakes that I've seen so you can learn from them and not have to experience them yourself. Because when you get a MOOC right, when a MOOC works, it is so fantastic. Philip's nodding. It is, isn't it? It's a quite exhilarating experience, and I hope you all get to have that experience. It is, I think, the best thing that I've done as a teacher so far is some of my MOOCs. They're just amazing. So here is your goal when you're setting up a MOOC. Because it's easy to have a bad MOOC, I've got to say. Your goal should be you want an engaged, effective course. I'm going to talk in a few minutes why a MOOC is different to a normal course and why you might have a different goal. But a MOOC has to be engaged and effective, or you might as well not be running it. Because if a student is enrolled at Taylor's and accidentally sits in, I'm sure you don't have any bad, say my university, if a student's involved at my university, the University of Sydney, let's say, and is doing a terrible first year economics course, what will they do? They've turned up, the first lecture's dreadful. Can anyone contemplate that they would change universities? That they would change degrees? In my world of physical universities, it's very hard to change a university. It's very hard to change a degree, and there's a lot of loss of face. It's embarrassing to tell your parents that you've started on something you don't like it. I think for most first year students, when they're doing a large course, if it's not going well or it's not being taught well, they just stay. And they put up with it. And you have to do a lot to get rid of them. And it's like a phone contract or an insurance contract or something like that. You're sort of locked in, and it's a lot of bother to leave. So with our normal teaching, we can afford to have a fairly mediocre practice, and the university won't suffer, unless word of it gets out to the outside world. But whatever happens in the classroom is normally secret. So you can actually afford, and many of the great universities in the world run truly terrible courses. But because no one knows about it, people still enroll in those unis. And when they discover it, they don't leave those unis. The whole reason I'm saying all this is a MOOC is the exact opposite. If you're enrolled in a MOOC and the first lecture's boring, you will click and go to another one because there's 7 on that same topic. If you're at one institution, you don't like it, click, you're gone. You watch the first 2 lectures, you're bored, halfway through the 3rd lecture, click, you're gone. There's no barrier to entry, no one's locked in, it's just one click and they're gone. And if it's not terrible, but it's just not engaging, they won't click and go somewhere else, they'll just not come back again. They'll think, oh, I should do that course, oh, but I want to play on the guitar first. Oh, I haven't gone to that course for a week or so. Oh yeah, but I want to cook a biscuit. They'll just think of other things to do in their busy life and they'll just disappear. So with a MOOC, if your course is not engaged and effective, people will leave in 1 second. So you have to be engaged and effective in a way that we've never contemplated before in a university course. People will leave halfway through your lecture. In Australia, it's considered rude to walk out during a lecture. So no more than half of my students ever walk out during one of my lectures. But as you're watching a video, you can watch your watching rates. You lose more than 50% of the people normally after the first 3 minutes of a video. So people can just walk away. So you must be engaged and effective, and if you're not, the cost is they're gone. And at uni, if I give a terrible lecture one day, a lovely thing about it being a physical place is that everyone comes tomorrow because that's their habit and they know they have to come and their friends are there. So they'll turn up tomorrow, maybe I can recover and do a good lecture tomorrow and win them back. But in the online world, there's no reason for them to come back. And they might have found someone new. So once you've lost them forever. So, okay, so I had a quick example to show you. In the, unfortunately this is shrunk a bit on this display. Let me see if I can open it in a new tab. Let me just tell you about it. What I mean by an engaged course, and perhaps we won't be able to see all the statistics, when I was teaching, before I taught MOOCs, I would think if I had a course with 100 people and I had 200 comments on the forum, that would be okay. That might even be quite good, average of 2 per student. Maybe 300 comments for 100 people would be fantastic. So for 500 people, 1,000 comments or 2,000 comments would be good. In the course that I ran last year with 500 people, actually 600 people, I had 43,000 comments. So the level of commenting from students and interaction is not on the same page as what you'd expect in a university course. Not only did I have 43,000 comments, I had 20,000 blog posts where people made reflective blogs that they shared with each other. That's even harder to make than a comment, but it's just like a comment, it's a public contribution to the course. So I had 63,000 high-level engagements of people engaging with each other. Per student, that's 102. Per week, per student, 7.8. 7.8 engagements per week. If you include micro-engagements, because if you've used Open Learning, you'll notice, because the platform is designed to make your MOOC work. That's what we think about day and night. How can we make a MOOC work? How can we make it sticky? How can we make students come back? There's a whole range of micro-engagement mechanisms there where students can do little things without much effort to engage, because we want engagement. We want them doing things so they feel part of it. In this course, I had 30,000 likes. Students submitted 97,000 pieces of work. They favorited things 1,000 times, they created 4,000 pages, and they sent private messages, approximately 75,000. I don't have that exact number, because people can message each other. So in total, I actually had 271,000 engagements, which is 438 per student, or 33.7 engagements per week. And that's really important, because if the students are doing 37 things a week, or 33 things a week, they'll come back. Because now it's a place they're going. It's like a clubhouse. It's a place they go and do things and they're involved and they belong to it. If you include page views, which a lot of online courses include page views as a measure of student engagement, but watching a page isn't really engaging. But if we were to include that, just so we make it clear that we're comparing like with like, we had 1.5 million engagements there, 189 per student per week. In terms of time on site in hours, we had 82,000 hours per student, 132 hours over the course, or 10 hours a week. So students were active on the site 10 hours a week, and that's not just leaving a page and walking away from it, that's engaging with the page, moving around and reading. Now with 10 hours a week on site, you've got them. Once you've got them, you've overcome this first problem I talk about, that they're going to disappear. Because you've got to have them there. If they're not there, it doesn't matter what you do, because there's no one there to see it. Once you've got them, of course, then you've got to teach. You can't just have a sticky platform where they go and give up. That's not the end of the story. Once you've got them, you've then got to do fantastic things and teach them, do all the normal educational things. But you have to have that first thing to make the online world work like a normal university. You don't get all the things that a university has by default in the online world. You've got to create it. So that was just an example of engagement I wanted to show you. So here's what you really want, finishing the goal. You want your students to be happy. You want your students to be active. You want your students to learn. In a MOOC, students are everything. And we need to delight them to succeed. It's this complete shift in the way of thinking. So if you're annoyed or grumpy or angry and snappy with them, you've lost a whole lot of students. Students are king. We have to delight the students to keep them there. Now it's well worth doing this, because once you've done this and you've made a place where they come, you'll see magic things start to happen. There's all these emergent properties you get out of MOOCs, and the classes and classrooms you have are not like any, we were talking before, you'd sensed the experience of how exciting this can be. What was your name? Mariam. Yeah, so Mariam was sensing before what MOOCs would be like, and she wants to create one. Because I can say as a teacher, when a MOOC is running well, it's not like any course you've ever taught before. You just go home on a high, you get up during the night and start talking to the students and doing things. It's just this constant buzz. Every time you log in, you feel fantastic. It's just 13 weeks of sheer pleasure and exactly what you hoped teaching would be like when you started. I had an example here, just a very quick one, of an engaged student. This is a girl called Priya in one of my courses. She was learning to program. She found it quite difficult, nearly wanted to give up, but one of the themes of the course was not procrastinating and not giving up, but somehow managing your time well. She managed to manage her time well, and she turned into a fantastic programmer, and she made a song about it, which she shared with us all. I'll only just play 1 second of it. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, the first bit's about me. I didn't mean to play you a video about me. The second half of the song's but she sings a song by the Beatles called Let It Be, but she calls it It's Just C. And the notion is the language C that we're teaching them, the programming language. At first it seemed so scary, but after a while she realised it was just a language. So she made a fun video about it, she shared it, everyone shares things. So I really didn't mean to pick one where she's talking about me, because actually the interesting thing about a MOOC is the teacher is no longer the most important person. A success, if you are central to the MOOC, your MOOC has sort of failed. A MOOC succeeds when the teacher can leave and the MOOC continues to run, when you've built a body of students interacting with each other. And in another MOOC I did 2 years ago, I actually got really sick and went to hospital. And I just suddenly, for no reason, I had to be in hospital for about a month, I think. And my course kept running when I wasn't there. And I couldn't even let the students know for a couple of days that I wouldn't be there. I just had to suddenly disappear. And it turns out what happened is some former students heard about it and came back and gave lectures, and the students themselves started organising the lectures themselves, because they'd all turned into lifelong learners. This course is all about them taking responsibility for their own learning. So I was gone for more than a month, and the course just ran without me. I didn't do anything. Towards the end, in the hospital bed, I could type a few comments and contribute. I came back and the course ran to completion. It ran normally. The student satisfaction was 85%, which isn't fantastic. Normally you'd expect, in our courses, we like to get in the 90s, but 85 is above my faculty average, and I wasn't there. It was a course that ran itself. So these are the things, these are the rewards we get if we manage to get student engagement working. The courses are just not like anything you've seen. I want to talk about 2 traps that you've got to look out for, and then give you 7 concrete tips for things you can do for your MOOC. I know it's a quick talk, so I don't have time to go into detail, but I'm very pleased to talk to anyone afterwards or to talk again at any stage. And Brooke is here from Open Learning, who's absolutely amazing and a really passionate teacher. And she'll be coming on Thursday too to answer any questions anyone has about me. So here are the 2 traps. Don't think an online course is the same as getting a normal course and putting it online. That will fail. That's a disaster. A MOOC is not a traditional course. Don't just put an existing course online. I've sort of hinted as to why. It just won't work. Trap 2. Students, if you're doing a flipped classroom, the big trap that no one really ever talks about, the whole thing about a flipped classroom is you get the students to watch the videos in advance, and you then spend your precious face-to-face time with them doing more valuable tasks. The whole thing fails if they don't watch the videos in advance, and they don't watch the videos in advance. So if you're planning a flipped class, and you can use a MOOC, I run all my classes flipped as though they're MOOCs, all my internal classes. In fact, I run them as internal classes and as MOOCs, so outside people can do them as well. If you're setting it up to do a flipped class, you need to think really carefully about how to make sure the students will watch the videos. You need to have a plan, you need to monitor that plan, and you need to check about it and stretch your brain. I've tried 8 different ways of getting them to watch the videos. Some have worked well and some haven't. And I'm speaking about that tomorrow at Open University, Malaysia. So if anyone's coming, can come to that, I'll speak, or I'll speak to you some other time. I don't have time to talk about it now, but it's a really hard and ongoing problem. So they're the 2 traps I think you've got to look out for. Trying to run like a normal course and assuming that students will have watched your videos unless you've really got clever plans. Here are my 7 tips for how to make your MOOCs effective. Number 1, we've talked about already, the students have to be engaged. If your students are not engaged, then the MOOC just won't work. Number 2, you need to design student-focused content. You can't ask the question, what's the easiest way for me to do this? What's the cheapest way to do this? How do we normally do this? The only question you can ever ask yourself is, which way can I do it that will work for the students? So when you're thinking what sort of videos, I put videos as an example, people often ask what quality should our videos be and how should we do post-production? No, they're the wrong questions. That's the old days of thinking of the university as delivering courses by making beautiful products and handing it to the students and learning just magically happening. The only question you've got to ask is, what videos will the students watch? So you can make a brilliant video and you can shoot it on a Super 8 camera, or equivalent, a GoPro or a little webcam, And that will be the best video ever. And you can spend $10,000 with a whole production crew and have a whole university video editing team behind you and make a boring video that no one watches. No one really cares about video quality. Video quality isn't important. What is important is that your videos have to be engaging. So you have to think how long they should be, and you have to think carefully about how you're going to construct them. And the only question you ask yourselves when you think about these things is, what will work from the student's point of view? So one way of trialing it out is make the video, and I show them to my little daughter. If she gets bored and doesn't watch it at the end of the video, I've failed. Because she has a longer attention span than most of my students. Because I'm a dad, so it's sort of rude. But yeah, so this is the question you just have to ask yourself over and over again. But we're all scholars and academics. That's a lovely word. How do you say it? Academicians? Yeah. We're reflective practitioners who think about what we're doing. We do our research in a reflective way. We're critical. We're scientists. A lot of us, or we're scholars, all of us. So just apply the same thing to your teaching. Just use that same brain. Think it's a problem. How can I solve it? And then be skeptical as to any answer you come up with and test it and try it out and constantly improve. You need to encourage and build community is step number 3. Community is what makes the whole thing work. If the students engage and interact with each other, then they'll want to come back. It's one of the biggest drivers for student presence is community. And that's why people like online, face-to-face campus life more than learning at home, for example, is when they come here, they smile at people, they feel part of it, they feel like they're home, they meet people and they have friendly social experiences as well as, and when we're sitting down, we're all sitting together. It's much more interesting than if I was giving a video and you're at home in a cell watching it on a screen. It's much nicer to be together. Community is this wonderful thing. So you really want your courses to build community. If your course has community, and you'll see it if you've got lots of posts, you can look at the communication patterns. That course that I was thinking about before that had for about 100 students, had about 200 posts, what the communication pattern looked like this. Student, lecturer, student, lecturer, student, lecturer. Student asking a question, lecturer answering. Student asking a question, lecturer answering. Lecturer asking a question, student answering. Lecturer asking a question. All right, that's a hub and spoke. That doesn't scale, that arrangement. That's not a community. That's a dictation session or a question and answer session. A community is lecturer, student, 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 lecturer, student, 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 lecturer, lecturer, student. And every student's talking to each other and students do that. And it's only when you've got that sort of environment that you can go away for a month and be sick and the course will keep running. And that's sort of a test of it. Here's what I do, by the way, as a way of encouraging community, just a practical tip. If a student posts a question, what do you think I do?
You ask the community to answer.
Yeah. And that's perfect. What's your name?
Anjan.
That's right. And in fact, the way I ask it is even more quiet than normal. I don't do anything. I sit there watching. I've had to create in the first day or so of the course, I've had to create an environment where people feel safe and people feel caring and people look after each other and people are used to communicating. And there's little tips about how to start that we can show you. But once you've done that in the first few weeks, when a student asks a question, I go, oh, and I put my hands down and I sit on my hands. And I'll sit there for about an hour sometimes doing other work, thinking, oh, I know the answer to that, but I won't answer. And then eventually, if I'm lucky, a student answers it. And then the first student says, thanks. And everyone can see that, and that's fantastic. And if I jumped in, that wouldn't have happened. I'd have started the expectations moving down a different path. And what if the student that answered it says the wrong thing? Someone says, what's that formula that you showed us for doing, Richard showed us for how to do this? Or they might even say, dear Richard. They might even ask me, dear Richard, what's that formula you asked us last week? That's not a good question. It's better to ask it to the whole thing. But the first few weeks, they might get used to asking me. I still don't answer. I sit, and someone says the formula is this, and they've said the wrong formula. What do you think I do then? So hard. There's wrong information there and all my students are seeing wrong information. I really want to answer it and correct the information, but I don't. And soon another student will come along and say, are you sure? I think it's probably this. And the second student will say, oh, I thought it was that. And someone else will say, well, which one is it, guys? Richard, we need clarification here. And then someone says, well, I think it probably is this because it wouldn't make sense if it was that for this reason. Someone says, oh yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, good, thanks. And then at that point, I come in and go, bang, post, thanks guys, that was awesome work. And then I go like to every single comment in the thread. And they all feel good. And I've modeled what I want. So for setting up community, it really is a matter of us being quiet. You can't be quiet from the beginning or you'll just have an empty, silent room. You foster noise in the room, in the online space early on, and then you withdraw yourself as much as possible, just giving a nudge and a one more quick thing. I know I haven't got much longer. Recently I was involved with 2 courses that are now running at UNSW. One has 500 students in it, one has 2,000 students in it. The 500 student one is a computing course. And I was there helping set it up. And in the first few days, that's when you've got to build community. The first few days of the course, that's the time for answering. I think, Philem, was it your course? The student asked a question in one of the MOOCs last year, and I quickly contacted the lecturer saying, oh, there's a question here. Was that you or might have been someone else? And the lecturer came along and then gave an answer straight away. That's what you've got to do. For the first 2 days, you've got to be on the course the whole time, and if a question pops up, you've got to respond at once. Because you don't want someone asking a question and it looking like the questions don't get answered here. You want them to feel, this is live, there's someone I'm talking to, it's a real person. So I have a warm-up activity I always ask students to do to get them used to commenting, and that is I say, oh, hi guys, welcome to the course. The first activity you've got to do on the course is just introduce yourself on the home page. And I make them do it on the home page so everyone can see it, because if you log in, you just go to the home page. I want the home page to be alive and fantastic and showing activity, so you want to go there and do that. So on the home page on this course, you can just see people coming in saying, hi, I'm John, I do this, and hi, I'm Edna, I'm pregnant at the moment, and then I'll come in and say, oh wow, when's your baby due, Edna? That's awesome, I've got 3 children, are you really sure you want to do this? And then, or we'll joke, or someone will say, I'm from Canada, and I'll say, oh, I went to Canada once, it's really nice, and then other people will say, and just I have this really conversational thing going for the first day or 2 of the course. You don't want a day or 2 of silence. And after that, the ice is broken and people are used to talking and introducing themselves. So in this economics course, I was doing that in the computing course, it was alive. And then I went over to the economics course where I wasn't so involved with the course. And there's another lecturer running it, and I didn't want to interfere with his course. And I noticed he had 400 students currently enrolled. So 400 people had come to that, had logged into the site already, and there wasn't a single comment. And that just made me so tense. This was like a day into the course. And you really want their first interaction in the course, the first time they come in, you want them to comment. You don't want them to get conditioned into thinking, I come along, I look, I go away. You want them from the very beginning thinking, I come along, I look, I comment, then I go away. Or I stay and answer other people's comments. So I'm going, what can I do? Because there's 400 people, even though I'm watching, I'm saying 401, 402, people are logging in all the time, and there's just empty front page and silence on it. So what do you think I did? A couple of strategies went through my mind. Strategy 1 was I should just go and say something. But that's not encouraging people to talk if the lecturer is talking, or someone who's not even the lecturer, because I'm not the lecturer of that. That's weird. So there's this weird guy no one knows who looks too old to be a student commenting. I'm not going to join that conversation. So what I did was I went to my own course where people had been introducing themselves and I'd been chatting with them for a couple of days, and I found one student who was in both courses. His name was Bob. And I just sent him a message saying, hey Bob, I notice you're in economics too, and no one's saying anything over there. Would you mind just introducing yourself and setting the ball rolling? And he posted back saying, yeah, sure. Then like 30 seconds later, there's a comment over there. Hi, I'm Bob. I'm doing economics and computing. I really like it here. It's fun. I'm from Canada. It's really cold in Canada. Brrr, bang. Within an hour, there are like 800 comments as everyone else logged in now because he's broke the ice and set the ball rolling. It would almost be worth paying someone to do that or creating a false student account to get it going. But once they build community, that course is now alive. How's that course go? I haven't looked at it for a couple of weeks. Is it? Yeah.
Very good, actually. A lot of interaction.
Yeah.
More interaction in the first week than they ever had in the whole course.
Yeah. Because the lecturer running it is more a traditional lecturer and he's not really thinking of it as a MOOC. So the interaction he's got now is just the habit that the students have fallen into. But you're, I hope, as teachers, going to be encouraging that interaction every week, getting it going a little bit faster and a little bit faster. So there should be more interaction each week, not less. You need to give students autonomy and ownership. If the students think it's your course and they're just a visitor, it's not so interesting. If they think it's their course, then they want to come and they want to learn. So I always try and be humble as a teacher and make the students think we're all there together and I'm there to help them learn and they're showing me interesting things I've never thought about, and we're very much a community and it's very much their course. So I give them lots of ownership and autonomy. Autonomy means I let them make decisions. And so quick examples of that are I give the students access to my lecture notes because Open Learning is just a big wiki, so all my lecture notes are on the Open Learning, so I just give the students write access to it. I say, oh, you guys can write on the lecture notes if you want to fix them up or expand them, because my notes aren't very good, they're just bullet points like this, and they'd be much better served if they were expanded. So then students go through my lecture notes expanding them and making them better. And often this will happen during a lecture. I'll be giving a lecture and my slides will change and get better. Spelling mistakes will be fixed, or examples I can't quite remember will suddenly appear there, or if I say, oh, there's a good video I saw once, Bing, if I reload the page, the video will be there. Someone will have found and put it in. So it's them writing on the lecture notes. Now, the really good thing about this is at the end of the course, I print out all the lecture notes that the students have now written, and I bind it, and I call it the class textbook, and I hand it to them as they walk into the exam. I say it's an open book exam, but you can only have the class textbook. So everyone has a textbook as they go in, and it's a textbook that they have written. I put them down as the authors. I say, textbook for Computing 1917, authors, awesome, class of 1917. So they all go in and they have now a book that they can use in the exam to answer any questions. They wrote the book themselves. This is what I call alignment, because it's in their interest to write good notes because it'll help them in the exam. They're not writing good notes because I tell them to write good notes. That's an authority model. They're doing something because I tell them. You know what students do when they're faced with authority models. They'll do the least amount of work they can to comply with the letter of what you've asked, but completely missing the spirit of what you've asked. But if you have an authentic activity, then they'll comply with the spirit because the spirit aligns with what you want to happen. And there's all other ways I give them autonomy, but I'll talk about that another time. You've got to use your time wisely. We're nearly at the end, because MOOCs can take a lot of your time. They can take all your time, and that's no good, so you can't do research and things like that, and you get frustrated and angry that it takes so much of your time. So you've got to remember that you've got a finite amount of time and make sure you use it really wisely. And examples of that are, for example, no email. Don't give them your email address. Tell them not to email you. Tell them to always use the online site. Because there's no point, especially because these things don't scale. If you've got 10 students, maybe you can use email. I've got 500 students. Someone mails me a question. The next day, someone else is going to ask me that same question. The next day, 6 people ask me that same. I'll be spending all my life answering that same question. But if they asked it online, then everyone can see the question. And I can answer it, and everyone sees the answer. So absolutely, and some people really just want to ask questions by email and not log in and ask them on the site. Probably because they're shy and they don't like the openness of the site. So that's the problem to that isn't giving and saying, oh, you can send me emails. The solution to that problem is, how can I make the site so it is an open, welcoming place so you don't feel bad or threatened to write comments there. So you do that by being really gentle in everything you say, having really good citizenship on the thing, never allowing any negative or hostility things to happen, always being gentle and forgiving in everything you do. And then hopefully they will ask questions, and just you have to always think, does this scale whenever you ask a question if you're going to do something? And everything should be open so everyone benefits from it. You've got to design your learning activities so that students want to do them. And here's the test. Because in a MOOC, no one has to do anything. If you're using it as a flipped class, students still don't necessarily have to do it. I guess if your own students do, but remote ones don't. You have to design all your activities so that people do them even if there's no marks. So think, could you take your current course, pull all the marks off everything, and would the students still do it? If they wouldn't, then don't put that activity in a MOOC. And actually rethink your activities in your own course. My own practice of teaching now is that none of my activities throughout semester count towards their final grade. None of them count for marks. I give them feedback, but it's always summative, formative feedback, never summative. But students still do them, but they do them because they want to do them. So you have to design your activities so people want to do it. And there's a whole range of ways that you can do that. You pick activities they want to do because they're fun. You pick activities they want to do because it gives them a skill they really want to have. You pick activities they want to do because they get to show their answer off to everyone else and feel proud about it. You give them activities to do because it's intrinsically interesting to do it because it's overcoming a challenge. You give them activities to do because it's something they want to do because they've never done it before and they want to take a personal challenge. You just think of all the reasons that make you do things because you do things all day long. Think of the reasons your children play games all day long when they don't have to. Think of all the things you do that no one makes you do. Design your learning activities so they have those same properties. My daughter learned to ride a bike, which was really painful and hard, because she wanted to learn that thing. If I could have had 1 million bike exams and she'd never have learned, but she learned the bike because she wanted to learn the bike. Your students are doing your course because they want to learn, they want that degree. They're here because they want something in the future. So it's not impossible for you to construct it. Here's what one student said. What I've noticed, however, is that all the students around me seem to be completing the tasks with regularity, despite the fact they're worth nothing at all for assessment. And they may not seem interested in computing at all. Buckland, that's very disrespectful of them. Buckland brought this up in his first lecture. This is from a student's reflective blog. He wrote it a year after he did the course. He wrote a blog thinking about what he learnt in the course. Then shortly after that, he sent me a link to it saying, you might find this interesting. And it was really interesting. It was all his thoughts about the course a year on, completely unsolicited. Buckland brought this up in his first lecture. I didn't think it through at the time. I didn't even think it was important. But now I'm honestly amazed. I look at so many other people in other courses measuring their work against the marks that something is worth. This test is only worth 0.5%, so it's okay if I don't try that hard. This assignment's worth 40%. I've got to do this assignment. Why is the final exam worth 80%? And then he wrote a little poem. I love learning, but I hate studying. This is just a fragment from this incredibly long blog he wrote. I hate studying, hate writing exams. If only there was a place where you could just learn. I would spend all day learning physics until I understand all of those discoveries that are being discovered. That's what he wrote. That's what we want our students to do. Everyone wants to learn. We yearn to learn. This guy had gone to a selective school in Australia. He'd come to university thinking Marx was everything. And for him it was transformational to realise, no, actually he's here because he wants to learn. So he took ownership of his own learning. That should always be our goal. And the last thing, and thank you. You want me to stop? Shall I do the last one or not?
Do the last one.
Emotion. What makes learning work and MOOCs work and online stuff work and life work is emotion. And I'm a scientist, a computer scientist and an engineer, and I think emotion means nothing and it doesn't really compute and I don't understand it. I live in a world of ones and zeros. But actually, even for us geeky people, emotion is everything. You have to have your students being happy. You want them to have a love of learning. You want them to have passion. You want them to have a holistic approach to life. Not only do you want them to have this, they want it too. So if you design your activities, your lectures, your videos, your content, your examples, your exams, if everything is designed so students have emotional experiences and see the emotional truth of what they're doing and help each other and feel the emotional support of helping each other, your MOOC will work. It's not, that's the carrot rather than the stick, and I think that's the way to go. And here's, you've got to know your goals, which we talked about at the beginning. You've got to work out what constitutes success. And here's an example of train spotters. You know what train spotters are? So in the old days in England, they had these things. They're people like me, geeks, that would go out and look at trains as they drove past and write down the number on the engine. And they wanted to collect all the numbers of all the engines. So they'd sit out there day and night looking at steam engines as they went past, writing down all the numbers. A whole generation of people just sat there writing down numbers because they wanted to collect them all. And this is a lovely little thing that someone said about train spotters. For me, train spotters is the sort of student we don't want to have, but it's so easy to create. Train spotters go in search of trains and they collect numbers. But at the end of the day, they're left with the numbers and there's not a train in sight. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard. That was very enlightening. Later on, we have a question and answer session. And maybe perhaps Richard will run the MOOC workshop in April. Sure. Right? And you can ask Richard more questions and he will share more of his MOOC journey.
We'll have to talk about it.
Right. Up next is Mr. Muhammad Mutakin, right? He has run 2 MOOCs. The first one was Business Journey with Caffeine Cafe, and his second MOOC is Guide to Successful Business. One thing which is interesting about Mutakin's MOOC is he's actually opened up his class to the refugees from Somalia. It is, I think it's called the Fuji School. So we hear more about this from Mr. Mutakin.
While we wait for these slides, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Muhammad Mutakin. I'm from Taylor's Business School. We have about 25 minutes to cover this. If you listen to Prof. Richards, his MOOC have actually achieved certain level that we want to go there. And I'm at the beginner stage. And this is actually a sharing session. This is not a teaching session. So I'm sharing my experience with you guys so that you can learn to avoid some mistakes that I have done. And I'm going to be telling a lot of mistakes that I've done so that we can all avoid them and we can learn from each other. I've developed 2 MOOCs. The first MOOC is the Business Journey with Caffeine Cafe. So just a quick introduction of this MOOC. This is the first time we tried MOOC. We had no idea what MOOC is, and this was Dr. Pradeep's idea, and we want to try it. So we sat there, me with my deans and my 3 other colleagues. So 5 of us sit there and we discussed what kind of MOOC should we start. And we had the idea of we should do a MOOC based on situation. So we want to teach business-related subject based on starting a cafe business. Seems like a good idea. The problem is the implementation. Now, because we were just starting, we don't want to go big. So we thought that, hey, maybe we should start with 4 weeks. So therefore, we have 4 weeks worth of lessons covering 4 topics, and there are 4 lecturers doing it. So if you do the number, 1 lecturer, 1 topic, 1 week, right? Seems like it is a good idea also. It manages everyone, and everyone does, you can try different methods. I'll talk about the problem later on. And so we develop lesson objective. When you have 4 lecturers covering 4 topics, developing 4 lesson objective, then there's going to be some problem because there's too much lesson objective. And we had the before we start questionnaire. Normally if you develop MOOCs and with ELA's help, you will have your before we start questionnaire. And the first thing that I did was that I don't want to be lazy. I wanted to develop a specific content for the students that are learning my subject. I can do the easy way where I go look around YouTube and then take some videos, put it there. And I don't want to do that. I want to try something new, and this is new. So I wrote in text, kind of like, how do you say it? Lyrics, I guess? Things I want to say, right? And then I recorded the video. I recorded the voice, and then I went back. I edited my own voice. It takes a lot of time, but I love it because I learned something new. And after that, I used this MP3 version. We changed into Sparkle. I also tried that software. It was new. Everything was new. And it took me about 2 weeks just to learn the software and do the whole thing. The good thing about this is that when you take this kind of efforts, you learn something extra. And I learned such important skill that I can still use until today. And I use VideoScribe. It is a free software. You can also upgrade to premium. And we convert into 5 to 10 minutes video. And we put it there. That's the first week content. The next week, what we did is that for the week 2, the other lecturers that does it is that they attach PowerPoint slides only for self-reading. So we thought that we put a PowerPoint slide, instead of listening to video or doing anything, you can just read on your own. Okay, I'll talk about the issues after this. And then we had some other activities. We put some MCQ questions. We tried 14 MCQ questions. Simple, easy to do. We want to encourage them. We want to try everything first. And then we had forums to discuss. And this is what the forum asks. Do they prefer to work alone or teams? Now, if you read it nicely, this kind of questions is not really suitable for forums. And it's a bit tough for you to encourage people to actually motivate them to actually have a long conversation. And then at the end of week 4, we put some YouTube videos. And then we didn't have assessment for this topic. We did not have assessment. They just do the activities, right or wrong, doesn't matter. And if you complete it, we will give you certificates, online certificates. The certificate will look like this. Let me see. Okay, the certificate looks like this. Now, this is done by Prof. Mustaq. So we take it, we amend it, made to Taylor's Business School, and then we issued it. The reason is that Prof. Mustaq have issued some similar kind of certificates, and we don't want to make sure that it is totally different. Everything should be similar. So if you are from other schools and you want to issue certificates, we can give you the templates and then you can just amend it. Okay, that's the first MOOC that I did. It was a trial. And we learned a lot of lessons from this. The first problem that we noticed is that all 4 lecturers didn't understand the real concept behind MOOC. And a lot of these lecturers, including me, have been undergoing the same government system, government educational system. I've been from primary school, secondary school, up until university, it's all from the government system. And when you are in the government system, we're recording this, okay, there are some weaknesses. The weakness is that it's more towards spoon feed. So our course, because we have similar experience, our course also tends to be a little bit more towards spoon feeding, different from Prof. Richards, okay? And second problem is that too many cooks spoil the soups. 4 lecturers, 4 topics, 4 weeks, and none of the lecturers understand the whole MOOC, things get really chaotic. Therefore, when the lecturers also doesn't really understand one another, you know what the student will feel, right? And when you have 4 different topics, there's no good flow. So the student in week 1, they will learn something, and then week 2, suddenly they say, hey, I'm learning something else, right? Therefore, from this, it's best if you are doing a 4 weeks MOOC, 1 or 2 lecturers only. Do not do, quantities doesn't really show quality. And since at that time, we thought that 1 week we will have 1 activity. So it becomes very boring for the students. And now, because I tried my own MOOC again last week, I myself feel very bored about my MOOC. But then again, it was the first MOOC we tried, right? I'm being very honest here, okay? And because in one of those weeks, we actually use only PowerPoint slide. Do not do that. That's lazy. Okay, unless you have a very good PowerPoint slide and you are super confident with it. So PowerPoint slide should be supplementary. I do encourage you to put PowerPoint slide, but after you have delivered your course correctly. And then you also have to issue badge. We issue badge. Now, if you are new to MOOC or if you don't know how the badge looks like, this is the badge. So you can create this because this is not teaching session. ELA will have their own MOOC course. They will teach you how to create badge, how to issue it to the students, right? So you will create badge and then you will issue it to the students. These are the students that will receive it, and then you can see that it really motivates them. It's a very simple, tiny effort, but it motivates them. So always issue badge. Just find any simple reasons, give them badge, give them badge, give them badge, right? And okay. The thing about MOOC is that the lecturers themselves needs to be very motivated. They need to have interest in MOOC. If you take randomly, force them to do MOOC, they don't have interest, they think that their workload is too much, they are doing a lot of stuff, then they won't respond to the students, they won't encourage the student, they won't check what the students comment. When you have this kind of lecturers, it destroys the MOOC. So if you want to have a partner in MOOC, find someone that really wants to try, that is really willing to learn. That's the most important thing for me. Okay? Because to be honest, we had a problem where lecturers doesn't even look at the whole MOOC. They put the content there and then that's it. Leave it. So we don't want it to have the same problem, right? But again, we learn from lesson. Therefore, we created a new MOOC because the first MOOC I was totally not satisfied. We achieved the number that we want. We achieved the what do you call this? The completion percentage. But then again, I know that this is not good. I can do far better. So I created next MOOC, Guide to Start a Successful Business. I did it alone. Not that because I'm confident, because I don't want any issues. I want everything in control at that time. Okay? At this point, I had better understanding of MOOC. I enrolled in several MOOC, including Prof. Richard's MOOC, and it was a very good MOOC, actually. And I learned a lot of things. One of the things that I learned is that I need to develop very simple lesson objective. Simple enough, when you read once, you understand it. Chances are, students won't read it, but just in case they read it, make it simple. Okay? And then I also follow the same pattern, 4 weeks, 4 lesson. 4 weeks, 4 topics, but 1 lecturer. Therefore, I know the flow, I have full control of the flow, I know what I'm going to do. I understand the whole thing. And at this time, I kind of like, because I was still learning, I wanted to improve. Last time, remember, I wrote the whole text, I record my own voice, and I go back and edit. The point is, this is my voice. It's not super interesting. If you look at documentaries, do you know David Attenborough? Right? The Animal Planet, the Animal Kingdom. He has a very nice, old, husky voice. Very good. People will listen. You just love listening to the voice. My voice, unfortunately, is not as good as that. David Attenborough. Therefore, I have a problem. My voice is not nice enough for me. So what I did is that I go straight through the whole software. It takes me 2 weeks, and I found the best software. If you want to develop something, your own videos that you created, use this software, Ivona. Ivona is I think it's a free software, or maybe I hack it. But I think it's a free software, right? There's multiple voices that you can try. You can choose female, male, older guy, British, American. And then you just type in your text there, put it, and then they'll convert it, they'll read the text and convert into MP3. Save a lot of times, you have a very beautiful, yeah.
Can you use David Attenborough's voice?
Huh?
Does it have a David Attenborough voice?
No, no. But quite similar actually. Yeah. Okay. Now, just a tip: if you use Ivona, and then when sometimes the software will pronounce it, they kind of like have a robotic kind of voice. Just change the pattern, change the words, change the way the content is structured. Then you have a beautiful one. I only found out this quite late after I've developed the whole thing. Then only when I tried again, I was developing new videos, and then I noticed that if I change the pattern, I change the word, then suddenly it becomes smooth. You can eliminate the robotic kind of voice. Okay? Maybe you can write it down. Right. Then once I have that voice over, I use Sparkle again. This time, the LA helped me. We developed videos, 4 videos. And apart from that, I also created 2 mini lectures. Now, from day 1 until the end of the day, you will have videos every single week. But I use different type of videos because I'm still also in trying mood. So I tried different one. And I noticed that there are some who are better than another. So 2 mini lectures, we recorded in Xspace. ELA helped me. There are 2 ways I did that. The first video, the mini lecture, is like this. Okay, this is the video, the video that I use Ivona there, and then we have forums. This is the first video. I just use a PowerPoint slide, put it in iPad, and then they record, and then we amend it, right? The reason why I record my own video is that I can use the lecture capture that we have. But then again, if you use lecture capture, you are actually addressing your students. So I wanted to create a video that I'm actually addressing those who are learning my topic. Take a little bit of time, just maybe 1 or 2 hours extra. But then again, you have a video focusing on the students. 5 minutes left, thank you. So this is the first video. And then we also had this video, second type of video, where I actually cut the whole thing and then I put it on the table nicely, and then while I'm actually doing that, I'll just take and paste it. It works better, but there's a problem. It's too small. If you are in some countries, if in my state for example, Kedah, Kelantan, because some of our internet is not that slow, with 240 pixel, then you can't see anything. Right? If you want to use this method, because it's more interactive, make sure that it's bigger. That's it, I want to share. Okay? And then we also have Aculen to record video. This Aculen here works pretty well. Yeah. So if you want to use Aculen, you don't record yourself, you record the whole screen. Right? We have the software there you can get from ELA, it's free. So what you did is that you have the full slide printed beside you. This is what I did, printed beside you, and then you just remove some of those points, and then you have empty slides like this. Therefore, while you are talking, while you are actually explaining the slide, you just type in certain stuff. It becomes like this. The good thing about this is that then the students will actually have some kind of activity, something that's moving around, and then you can add in pictures here and there. And amazingly, this video is actually 38 minutes. And I received a lot of good feedbacks, amazingly. I was not expecting this. There's just one problem. If you are using Taylor's laptop, you don't have any microphone. If you type, it will capture this noise. So go back, do it in your desktop, and then you can record, and it will be a very good video. Right? Don't use Taylor's laptop. I'm so sorry, just information. Okay, and yeah, we have several forums, and then I include PowerPoint slide, but as a supplementary. Then the lessons learned. Okay, just a quick one. Sorry guys. We also included MOOC and Fuji. This is based on Vinitas, our dean, and also Miss Cheryl here. Their idea. They came to me, then they proposed an idea where can we use your MOOC to actually help the Fuji students. We did that. I go back and I look, and it is suitable. To be honest, I don't want to say yes if it's not suitable. And it is suitable enough for the students. So what we did is that we bring the whole Fuji students, 25 of them, come to Taylor's every week for 2 hours. Then they sit down in a pair with our Taylor student. They go to the whole MOOC. So we bring it to another type of learning process. And it works great, to be honest. There's a reason. First, the understanding. If the Somali students learn my MOOC at home alone, they won't understand much. They don't have any basic knowledge about business. And also, some of them are quite young, 14 years old. And they are from Somali, so therefore their English is not that good. When they come here, learn together with Taylor's business students, they really understood a lot of things. And they can train their own English there. Okay? I have to skip some things here, so I'm going to go fast. And at the end, we award students with certificates. Now, this is the badge. Okay. My mistake. Sorry. This is one of the mistakes that I did. One of the students during the Q&A forum, because Q&A was quite a good forum, so she asked the questions, and I know about this stuff. I made that kind of error. I answered the whole thing, and I love it. When I type it, I was smiling because I really know the answer. I shouldn't have done that. Later on, I noticed that I shouldn't give the answer. So after that, what they did is another questions. At this point, I did not answer this. I let them answer everything. They shared the information, and then I summarized. So it was better. And then later on, some of the questions I don't even answer. Let the students answer. So I learned from this process. Again, it's best if you don't. 1 minute left. Okay, I'm going to end, but just a quick one. Public university have been actually implementing MOOC, and you can see the number here. These are the university that created it, and these are the number of students. Compared to my MOOC, it's about 600. But then again, I don't make it compulsory, it's on free will, right? There's a reason for this. The public university covers 30% of their course content, and all the lecturers make it compulsory for them to learn. Therefore, they can achieve huge number. However, can I remove this mic for a while? Okay, you will edit it. However, I enrolled in one of these courses. They sent to me a link. They asked me to answer some survey. Apparently, they had problem with 20,000, which I can't remember which one. With thousands of students, they couldn't even get 150 surveyed answered, because survey is based on free will. So numbers doesn't guarantee that your students love your course. So you got to be careful. You don't care about the numbers, just do whatever you love and try to make sure that you give good experience instead of focusing on the numbers. Okay? Last one. Okay, just last one. I'm developing a new MOOC based accounting for Fiji students only. And currently, the Fiji schools, they want to use more MOOCs, and they want to actually help the all Fiji students all over the world. So we are trying to develop a lot of MOOCs to help Fiji students. If you have any idea, you can come and then we can do it. There's another thing is that one day I went to a mosque. We had this ceramah, you know ceramah? It's a talk, Islamic talk. So we sit there, and then they were talking about prayer. So they were correcting how you should pray and everything. And after that we had discussions, everything. And now one of the imams or ustaz, the Islamic scholars, they want to use MOOC to actually teach people to pray. Amazing, isn't it? Now the imams in mosque, they know about MOOC, they want to use MOOC. Therefore, we as the academicians, we got to do better than this. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mutaki. He definitely got everybody mad about MOOC. Our next speaker is Mr. Kandapan. He is the lecturer, senior lecturer from TCHD. His MOOC is Wonderful Styles of Food and Beverages from Around the World. Give a warm welcome to him.
Okay, very good evening. Can I call? It's always difficult to be a last speaker because the previous speakers normally covers most of the knowledge which we want to share. Okay, so I'm here on behalf of School of Hospitality, Tourism and Culinary Arts, myself Kandapan. The subject I teach is the F&B operations and wine studies. So in the year, I think it is on the last quarterly of 2013, we started the initiative of MOOC by the influence of openlearning.com by Adam and group team. As my previous colleague was mentioning, when we started a MOOCs, it's like putting a people in a different world. Okay, we don't know what is happening. So we are like a pilot batch, so it's on experiment. When we designed the MOOC, we also had a lot of difficulties. So I'm here not to share most of the things what I want to share. That's why I skipped a lot of slides when he was doing the presentation. So mostly I'll be covering what are the components you need to cover when you want to become a successful MOOC. Always the problem we have whenever we design a MOOC, which is we call it as massive open online course. I think the first problem is identifying a topic. It's a very, very difficult. I think it takes a lot of time because the topic you choose, it has to be very interesting to different levels of group of people. Because we are not focusing only on educated people or the people who are working. It has to cover a large number of people. So the topic which I have chosen is what we call wonderful styles of food and beverage across the world. Okay, the reason why I choose this particular topic, I really made a topic for only 4 to 5 weeks, because whenever we travel outside, we normally look for the restaurant which serves your nativity food. Is it true or not? That's what the reason may be many things. It is because sometimes we don't understand the type of the restaurant. So after walking to the restaurant, after you sit there, they present a menu, you don't understand anything. That means because of maybe the written bistro or maybe Berasi, we don't understand when we travel to Europe. So this, during my course, I tried to explain them what are the different types of restaurant by the term, which helps the society when they travel around to choose the restaurant.
not always looking for your own food. You are traveling outside to explore yourself. After maybe from Malaysia, you travel to Europe, don't look for a Malaysian restaurant. Okay, but obviously we do that. Is it true or not? We normally do that. So I was quite surprised to see the participant, not much from Taylor University, mostly from outside across the globe. Like from US, from Africa, I got a lot of people because they are quite interested about to identify the different types of restaurant. And the most challenging is finding a topic, and the next thing, after finding a topic, what to do? We are lost. Even the first experience was quite very a different learning experience, which made me to structure for the next MOOC course which I am designing. Okay, more than I'm designing a MOOC course, I started giving training to my colleagues how to design a MOOC course. It's not, because our school is mainly, we believe not as an individual, we work as a team. It's not myself keep on creating more number of MOOC courses, doesn't purpose our university goal. So that's why we started giving, last 2 months, myself and few more colleagues, we started giving training to the faculty member how to design a MOOC course with a hands-on experience. That means morning we have some discussion, afternoon they shoot themselves. So they come up, because nowadays in a world we are supposed to use technology, right? If you don't use technology, you will be replaced. The technology cannot replace us, but if you don't use the technology, you will be replaced. Right? But make sure when in the traditional classroom, try to integrate the technology. So this MOOC, I think, I'm just going to cover certain things. So why MOOCs? Why MOOCs has become popular for last few years? So I pick only few things. It is one of the most innovative movements within open learning and a distance education. So it becomes like an innovative one. And it creates a new learning opportunity in higher education as a staff member and also as an educator. That means you are creating yourself a new way of experience. And through this way, I think you can able to reach the global learners. Because nowadays we are in a scenario where learning in both sides, not only one side. So once you start sharing your knowledge to the global market, you know your level of presentation. And even designing a MOOC course helped me to improve my way of presentation. Because we assume that we are the best presentation we do always. But through this, we get some comments. Whether the people understand our way of delivery. So which helps me to change a lot of pedagogic methods. And I started using a lot of platforms to enhance my teaching in the current semesters. And definitely the MOOC helps us to become a lifelong learning. Even after retired, you can also start your MOOC course. And also as a participant, they are going to be always a learner throughout your life. So probably sometimes when you start designing the MOOC, you will be educator, and also sometimes you will register yourself in other MOOC course wherein you will become a learner also. So it's a way opening 2 doors for us. Okay, the types of MOOC. So there are 2 different types of MOOCs. We call it as X-MOOC, and there is another one called C-MOOC. Because after started designing the MOOC, I started go deeper into research, finding out what is MOOC. And nowadays I think the common one called MOOC A. That means if Taylor's is the first university to start the MOOC courses in Malaysia, I think very soon they will become a MOOC A. It's nothing but MOOC administrator for the entire country. That's a recent trend happening from last year. So they control the other MOOC courses in different universities. So when you say C-MOOC, it's nothing but community-based learning, where it's a collaborative learning. Okay, there is no restrictions for your courses. So when you say X-MOOC, it is more structured like a university MOOCs, where it will have a start date, end date. But when it comes to C, it's an open platform. It's a collaborative and more independent. You can start, you can give liberty to your participants. They can start working on their own pace. There is no starting course or no end. This may be your topic. It depends upon the topic. So try to choose your type of MOOC based on your topic. Okay, since I'm just going to cover a few more components, when you're going to design a MOOC course, what are the guidelines, basic guidelines you need to cover when you design a MOOC course? So I divide a component into 3 different subheadings. One, I call it as curriculum, that is course curriculum development best practice. And second is the educational material development and the course implementation best practices. So we go one by one. So when is the first one, which we are going to focus on, the course curriculum. Under the course curriculum, the first one is the platform and the educational material. That means if you are going to create, why we prefer the open learning as a platform from Taylor's is because of the accessibility. Okay, so whatever platform you are using, because there are like almost 50 platforms roughly available like open learning. I think it's not harm for me to share the other platforms, right? Because like Coursera, Udemy, like that, there are different platforms, but each platform has some limitations and problems. But open learning, we found it quite user-friendly, and since we get a support to customize ourselves, that's why we are using it. So it is more on accessibility and mobile friendly. I'm not talking about the mobile phone. So mobile friendly is nothing but how friendly is your system when you use the platform. That's more important. Okay, I think the only option I prefer the open learning, like probably they need to come up with the app. So which makes more interactivity, and especially in terms of notification. I think it will be a good thing if you come up with the app which can operate in all the platforms, not only certain. Then it will be great for us. Okay, the next one is the course curriculum and configuration. So I'm going to cover a few components. When you design your course curriculum, what are the major things to cover is the structure. That means we found it difficult as an initial MOOC. We don't know what to put as an objective. How to design an objective, course content, okay, how long. So I think these are all the difficulties I faced during my course. Then I identified which will be the proper components to cover under the course curriculum. The first thing is the structure. That means what is your objective, what is your outcome, what you are trying to inform the participants. What you are expecting outcome is more important. And the second important thing is the duration. So I found it like the shorter the course will be more effective, like 4 weeks rather than going for 10 weeks and further. And even when you structure your course, make sure each week, okay, try to have sections. That means if they come for week 1, not only one video covering 15 minutes. The people are not interested nowadays. So try to break your videos into small videos with the activity into the video so that you can really follow whether the people are focusing on your course. That means after a video, try to have some discussion forum or some reflection on your video. And the next one is the duration. Make sure, is my suggestion, experience, if you keep 4 weeks or 6 weeks, definitely it has a good thing. And maybe the structure and duration, it also depends upon your course, whether it's a free course or paid one. So when you are paid one, you have to be more specific on the structure, which covers your type of video you are using. There are a lot of copyrights involved. When it is free, okay, you can still use YouTube and other things. But when you are going to pay your course, make sure the video is done by you. Or if it's a copyrighted, and there are also other platforms like Creative Loan, some websites where there is a copyrighted images and available. And next is the enrollment date and the deadlines, like your course should have start date and the end date according to openlearning.com. And definitely you should dedicate yourself, that means engaging yourself in your course. Like every day we engage ourselves in WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, checking your emails, right? Is there anyone without checking that? At least one of this? Definitely we are. Same thing, I think you need to engage yourself every day to check something on your course. That gives more effective in your course. The next is the certification, as I mentioned, very powerful one. But when you create a certification, try to have different levels. Because there are few people who start the course okay, but they are nowhere. They are not participating in discussion forum. They don't respond to your activity, but still we need to provide them completion, but try to have competency levels. So the people who are much involved, try to have a ranking so that it gives a value to your course. That's what we do. Because one of the MOOC courses I attended from Kanpur NIT, it's like MOOC on MOOC, where depends upon our response, they're given the competency certificate. Because after becoming a MOOC champion, I started attending MOOC courses also, to get some knowledge, and mainly to know different platforms they use in MOOCs. And more, the next one is the communication and collaborative. So make sure your course has some communication and collaborative in it. Collaborative means it can be discussion forum, blogs, or you can have your own way of creativity if you are a real pedagogic specialist. And definitely it should have assessment to check the quality of your course and also to create interest and to reflect on your courses. And finally, if the course will be downloadable, which can be good, that at least the materials, at least the PowerPoint or anything if you are using, probably if it is a downloadable one, I think it will be useful for the learners as a reference. And finally, as I mentioned, it should be easily accessible. The next, the most important thing, educational materials. What are the different things you can integrate into your course? The first thing is the educational video. So when you say educational video, it is not just explaining in front of the PowerPoint. Because after this, I found like Screencast-O-Matics, we have our own system, Acoro, and also apart from that, there are like Camtasia Studio. So whenever you screencast yourself, make sure your background is white. That's the experience I learned. So whenever you have a background as a white in your slides as well as in your image, where you can play around, you can do the mashup. We call it as mashup. Technically, it's nothing but putting your image as well as content. That's what we call technically mashup. So when you have white image, it really shrinks. Otherwise, if you have a PowerPoint with different background and you're standing here having a different background, it doesn't shrink to your slide in a screencasting. So that's why they advise to keep the white background always. Even when you see the Apple platform, education platform, they prefer white. Because where you can play with your mashups. So mashup is basically, you can combine more components in. One side can be slide, one your image, one can be some bullets, or maybe a video playing inside. It's all can be covered in one shot. That's what we call it a mashup. In Camtasia Studio, or if you can use Screencast-O-Matic, and there are a lot of other platforms available. Probably if you need any help, you can definitely contact me. And hypertext, like try to have different text, not always text, try to have some images, maybe some interactive images, or maybe like ebooks, okay, or some interactive books, try to incorporate into your course, which gives more involvement to your course. And audio output, sometimes we make, as he was mentioning, we have difficulties in, when you record yourself, sometimes the noise of echo and other things. So where you can get the help from VLA, slowly you can also learn by yourself. Where you record your audio separately, then you shrink to your video. I think once you start the first course, you will be in a support. After 3-4 MOOC course, I think you can start using by yourself. That means you should have your own studio in the home in the future, I think. That's what's going to happen. You should have your own studio at your home in maybe in a decade time, if you really want to sustainable yourself in this profession. And try to create a lot of wiki platforms to put their ideas. And finally, if you give some project based on video, so that you can say, okay, you communicate some, okay, make a small video on certain topics, which creates interest. Because nowadays the participants are more interested on techno-based. So that's why we need to also integrate ourselves. And this one we already covered. Try to generalize your content, everything, and email option, it left to you. Because email sometimes, it helps you to notify the people about your course, upcoming courses. And discussion forum. And if possibly, you can also integrate few social media network, which will be powerful for you to integrate with the people. This is my last slide. So basically when you design your course, what has to be there? It should have a course information page which covers entire information about your course. It should have the courseware page is nothing but more components about like what are the different components you are having, videos and other things. And discussion page, very important. Okay, it can be live since we have an online chat option, or it can be a virtual discussion forums. Or you can use a lot of websites like we use EduBlogs, similar things for the discussion forums. And even you can use a Padlet, can be a link, put a link for the discussion. So it's all giving a different experience. And progression page, it's very important as they have. So it helps us to track the student whether they are active in your course or not. And finally, you should have a page syllabus. So basically when you start creating a MOOC course, you will also have a different learning experiment and also experience, and also it helps us to develop our way of delivery. And because of MOOC course, I also started passionate towards Apple education because they are quite into it, a lot of MOOC courses. I think in future probably this MOOC course, if you are going to design based on your module, probably due to any natural calamities or maybe due to some other government reason, if it's a public holiday on your class, where you can put the link of the particular title where the students can use your MOOC course, where it can be replaced instead of replacing your class, which can be used as a tool. That's it about my content. I think not much to cover since still we are in infant stage myself. A lot of things to learn. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I should thank e-learning for the support and also my school. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Kandapan. We have come to the end of our MOOC, Mad About MOOC Festival. So now Mr. Lim Chi Leong will give some gift certificates to the MOOC champions.